Muito bom evento hoje na cidade,
Spell your first and last name, so we have it on tape.
It's Michael Montag, Michael Montague.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to call you Montague. So first, for those who aren't familiar with your group, what's the name of your group? What do you do?
We're Soldiers of SOO Canada. We're all about helping our communities in every way we can, whether it be patrols in the high-risk areas or raising funds to help displaced families. Things like Fort Mac, we went out and helped and brought a bunch of goods up there. We've done all sorts of things. We help women that are abusive relationships that want to get out of it. We help relocate them, we go to food banks all over Canada, all sorts of different things. Anything we could really manage to pull together, we'll try.
What's the origins of Soldiers? It's Odin or Odin?
Odin.
So, okay. What's the origins of the group? Where did it start? How did you get involved?
Well, I mean, as you've heard, it was started in Finland in a response to a bunch of problems they're having with immigration out there and things like that, where people are getting physically harmed, raped, and things like that. And it was basically a setup, a patrol thing to protect their communities from these issues. That's basically how it happened. I heard about it through a friend of mine, personally, and I did a lot of research on it to make sure. Obviously, with some negative reports about it, you want to be sure. Myself, I had a black stepdaughter, and no way am I racist, so that was a big issue with me when I wanted to join. I wanted to make sure. And I think the families are a great group of people, lots of multicultural families within it, different ethnicities across Canada within the group. Great group of guys. We need a chance. Proud to be a part of this organization. It's a shame that a lot of the reports on it are pretty negative, but I think we're here today to rectify some of that.
What was the purpose of the Soldiers of Odin going to I believe it was an anti-racism rally? That's what it looked like to me.
What it is it's not necessarily we were there to be against this anti-racism. We're all for anti-racism. Our problem is with the people that are in charge of these rallies. They're called Antifa. Now, if you do some research on these people, they're the guys that were in rioting in Washington, D.C. over the Trump administration. They're the people assaulting people at Berkeley. They're the same people in Toronto recently at these M103 protests where we're doing security for people like Sandra Solomon. They're called brown people white supremacists and calling Jews Nazis and it's all sorts of ridiculous things. What they do is they try to operate out of fear. So they'll go to your rallies, like say the M103, and try to scare you into silence. They wear their masks, they try to intimidate you, all kinds of things. So our intentions with this rally was more so to go there to try to expose to the public that would be in the area what these people are actually about and try to inform them of their true intentions, their communist backgrounds. You'll see a lot of their guys going around with the hammer and
hammer and
sickle. That's right. Okay. Yes, the hammer and sickle. Yes, you'll see that communist on flag all the time with these guys. And we just there basically to show them that we're not going to be intimidated and we're not going to allow them to intimidate everyday Canadians when they want to speak up. And that was the basic.
Is it your presumption that they're trying to intimidate? They had a Black Lives Matter banner there. I saw that in the background. I mean, is that an intimidating thing to do, to put that up?
No, not necessarily that per se. That specific rally, they were kind of there to do their anti-racism thing, correct? Right? So, I mean, they weren't exactly trying to intimidate at that point. They do a lot of these anti-racism rallies all over the place. But when anybody is, not agreeing with what they believe as far as political goes, they will go there masked up so you can't see their faces. They will go there throwing rocks, doing anything. They're big flagpoles that are, thick dowels that are flags that they used to hit people with. We've seen it over and over again, and that's just not okay with us. We have our charter rights that state that we have a freedom of speech, and every Canadian has that, and we respect that and we protect that. We don't want innocent people being fearful of their safety when they want to speak out against things such as our government.
What's your understanding of, were you actually there yesterday?
No, I wasn't there myself.
What's your understanding of what happened?
Well, I've been briefed on what went down, and basically our guys went in there. There's some reports that said our guys were masked, which is not true. Those were the Antifa guys. Our guys don't wear masks. We're open to the public. Our faces are shown. What happened was our member was flying a Canadian flag, and these guys are communists. They don't agree with our government and democracy. So they grabbed the flag from him, hit him a couple times, and that's where you see our guys kind of scuffling in there. And they tried to separate it, get the flag back, their property, and then the police stepped in, as you can see in the video. They were detained, interviewed, and released.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying the people at that rally actually attacked your
our
guys first.
They did,
Okay.
and our guys didn't attack or assault anybody. That's why they were detained, questioned, and released.
One thing, and I'm devil's advocate question, observation, looking at the video, you could see the guys from Soldiers of Odin, they had hoods on, they looked aggressive. And when I see people wanting to criticize your group, I would have to say an observation might be that it looks like the Soldiers of Odin guys show up at these things looking for trouble and looking for confrontation. What would you say to
I
that?
can see your point to that, yes, but a lot of things can be taken out of context in a short little clip of film. You know what I mean? I mean, you can twist anything to look like anything with a short piece of material off of a video camera. And you know, it's a quick statement. I mean, as the CPNW report states, you know, it almost implied that we were somehow conflict with the police there, and that's just not true. You know, we were protecting our own people from getting harmed. You know, a very small individual actually was about to be attacked there, and they were trying to stop it, right? And as far as these people wearing hoods and walking around, I can't be sure to even state that was one of our members. I don't know. I mean, I've seen the video once or twice, but I didn't really see anything as far as intimidating going on, other than the fact that they were trying to take our Canadian flag and assault one of our members.
Could you, are you aware, just from somebody looking to the outside who doesn't know anything about your group, doesn't know you, nobody's disagreeing with your charter rights to talk about whatever you want, but possibly in the presentation of how you guys present yourself, that you might be able to do something different so as to not come across as being frightening to people who don't know about you?
Well, yeah, and we try to do that through our PR, and that's one of my biggest jobs, is to try to put out there exactly what we are doing, showing the community what we are about in our charity drives and all sorts of things like that. You know, as far as what the public perceives of us, I mean, when you got mainstream media sources that all only report negative and never seem to show the public what we do as far as picking up needles and everything else, which is all over our Facebook pages, I might add. So, I mean, if you look it up, it's easy to find. I can give you guys links to it. It's not a problem. I mean, it's more so what people are privy to. You know, people aren't, these days I find, aren't researching things themselves, and they're just kind of going with what people are telling them and not researching it themselves. You know, and a lot of people I deal with, I'll be online talking to them, explaining to them what we are actually about on certain posts and stuff like that, and then they'll change their minds. It's happened quite a bit, actually.
Actually going to the rallies when you have these groups who you have identified as, you believe they've got an ideology that you don't agree with. When they have these big demonstrations, they're clearly in an agitated, emotional state.
Fair enough, yeah.
Is there possibly a recognition that those particular rallies might not be the best place to have your guys go, just because things have the potential to be so volatile that you might be able to make your case and state your reasonable concerns in a different way and at different places, and kind of let them have their space?
It's a learning curve on getting our message out as to what these guys are about, and I mean, you know, it's basically they're trying to show that, you know, what these guys are truly about at these rallies. Nobody was there to try to stir anything up, and it just shows you their character. I mean, you don't see us at their rallies freaking out, calling them names, and hitting them with stuff. We're there trying to exercise our charter rights. We're not there insulting anybody. We're not there threatening anybody, but they are. You know, it's a big, big difference when you talk about how we're presenting ourselves, but yet nobody looks at how they're presenting themselves. And honestly, I think it's a good thing for us to go to these rallies to make sure that the general public can understand. Maybe we could start making pamphlets with information about these guys that we can hand out. That's an option. And like I said, it's a learning curve, and I'm sure we'll fine tune it. And obviously, we're not there to incite any kind of violence. That was not our intention.
Thanks very much, Mike. Good job. I appreciate you talking to us. He's going to get a cutaway shot of us
Just give 1 second.
so that we're not recording this. I'm going to tell you, I've done this around the world. I've been to a lot of places. I think part of what's going on, quite frankly, don't be offended by this, it's how you dress.
Well,
right?
You know, fair enough.
And to people who don't know, people are going to look at you guys, and what's the average person going to think? Biker gang, right?
Fair enough. I mean, a lot of us.
And people are afraid of bikers. You know, rightly so. We see the crime associated, for instance, with Hell's Angels. You guys aren't the Hell's
No,
Angels.
we aren't a
nothing to
criminal
do with them,
organization.
and you're not a criminal organization. But to, you know, the outside person who knows nothing about this, they see a bunch of guys dressed in black showing up, young guys too, right? People get scared. And I wonder if maybe something that you guys could do to alleviate some of these concerns might just be, you know, an image thing, right?
Well, I mean, I'd hate to say it. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, image is a big thing, unfortunately, with a lot of people as far as being comfortable enough to ask questions and things like that. And that's why we try to show up with, you know, without our colors on in some cases and stuff like that. Like I myself, I made a big speech in front of the City Hall in Vancouver on 103 on the 19th. You know, we weren't wearing our colors. We wanted to get our message out. We met a lot of people that had the same concerns. And,
I
it
think
worked very well.
I think you'll probably have more success and less controversy if it's just about that, because people who don't know anything about you, you see a bunch of young guys with their hoods on, stuff that looks like a biker gang, and they think thug, and they're afraid, right? Because the experiences.
Well, you got to understand too. Part of it's too is for our patrols as well. I mean, we don't want to be walking around, and you know, it does help with the visual image in that respect. And the opposite end of things, when you got a criminal that's about to assault someone, or you know, going to break into something, they see us, they've heard of us, they don't really want to mess with us. They'll start moving along, right? And that's why we really don't see too many issues when we're out on patrols, because it negates the problem. They walk away.
You guys are, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, or you're challenging your ideology, or your right to say it. I think everybody can agree. You guys have a right to be out there. It's really hard for white young guys to go out in public anywhere in North America these days and initiate dialogue about this, especially at events like this. I mean, have you guys really thought about maybe there's a different way to get your ideas out, get your
and
concerns?
we're actively working on different
out.
things. I'm going to be starting a podcast eventually here, so we'll have open questions online through Facebook and things like that for people to be a little more comfortable to ask us things. And, you know, we're definitely looking into different ways to approach this in the public, because obviously it's going to be an uphill battle with all the negative press that we've had. But you know, that's my job. And I'll be working on it very diligently.
You guys shouldn't have to defend yourself and say, "Hey, we're not racists," right? I mean, that's really a ridiculous
we shouldn't. Really, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't. But the fact of the matter is, the accusations are there, and you know, and honestly, the concerns are kind of legitimate. I mean, it's depending on the way you look at it, right? I mean, if you research it on Google and look at Wikipedia, I mean, any normal person's going to be like, "Well, what the hell? What about this? Why is this a thing?" Right? So you got to explain it, right? And you know, and we're actively doing so on our pages, you know, on news posts that they make on Facebook. I'll be addressing them. You'll see a lot of.
How do you differentiate yourself, I guess, between people who are just regular citizens and like the dress and the style and everything, and the association of biker, thug?
Well, we're
mainstream society, I don't think, has any ability to differentiate between that, right?
That's where you know, they're discriminating by looks, and honestly, I don't do that. You know, I'm not gonna walk around and say you guys are bad guys because you work for mainstream media. You know, I'm not gonna make that assumption. Your actions will prove that, right? And that's what we hope. Our actions will speak a lot louder than the negative words.
I'm just wondering if it's a thought experiment, you guys would have a totally different reaction if you showed up in suits. You know, I'd be curious if you tried that, what would happen. You know, and I'm not saying I'm against bikers or anything, or all guys on bikes are criminals. They're not.
Oh
right?
yeah, and that's another thing. We're not an MC. You know what I mean? But a lot of guys do ride.
But we see the guys who, you know, we see the consistent problems that you do have with outlaw biker gangs, the level of intense violence that is sometimes associated with those guys, and it's in the public mind.
I mean, if that being said, I would ask anybody that's curious about that to look up SOO and any of its members, and you're not going to find any criminal actions done by our group. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We have very strict codes that we follow. We have mandates, rules that if aren't followed, there's fines, suspensions, removal for any infractions. So this is, you know, very serious. We take it very seriously. If our members are proven to be somewhat racist or violent or had a criminal past that we don't agree with, those members are removed right away. And that's why they got guys like me in charge as the national PR, because I have the power to take anybody out of this organization.
So you're in charge of the national PR?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's a big responsibility.
Sure is, yeah. I've kind of earned it indirectly. But you know, I got no problem with it. I've got no problem talking with you guys. I got no problem addressing any concerns from the public. It's not an issue for me. I've got nothing to hide.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Good job. Okay. See you guys later.